Hey guys, welcome back to One Stop Biology. So, today we are going to start off with some classes of the division vertebrata. So, in the last video, where we studied various other phylums, including chordata, right? So, there we saw that in chordates, there is a division which is nothing but vertebrata. And this vertebrata again is divided into agnatha and stomata. So jawless and with jaws, right? And this again has one class which is cyclostomata. And this has two superclasses, Pisces, that is fishes, and then tetrapoda. So basically Pisces have fins and they have limbs, right? And this again has two class, Chondrichthyes and Osteichthyes. Okay, and tetrapoda again has different classes. So it has four classes: Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, and lastly mammals. So what we are going to cover today is four different classes. So we'll cover Cyclostomata from the super class Agnatha, and then we'll cover Chondrichthyes, Osteichthyes from Pisces, and Amphibia from tetrapoda. Okay, so let's start with the first class, which is cyclostomata. So basically all the living members of the class cyclostomata, all the living members, okay, are ectoparasite on some fishes. Okay, so they basically have an elongated body and they somewhat look like a fish, but then they do not have normal scales and fins. Okay, so they are, the first point is that all living members are ectoparasite on some other fishes. Okay, now they have elongated body bearing 6 to 15 pair of gill slits. Now this is for respiration. Then their mouth is without jaws as they are from Agnatha, right? So they have mouth without jaws, but that has sucker and mouth is circular. Okay. Now body is devoid of scales and fins. So they do not have scales and fins. Now the cranium and vertebral column. Since they are vertebrate, they have vertebral column, right? So the cranium and vertebral column are not bony, they are cartilaginous. Okay, they are made up of cartilage. Circulation is of closed type, so they have several blood vessels for circulation of blood from heart. Then they are marine, but they migrate to fresh water for spawning. Okay, so for basically reproduction, they migrate to fresh water. And what happens is after spawning, within a few days, they die. Okay, so they die off within a few days after spawning. And then the larvae that they produce, these larvae from metamorphosis, they undergo metamorphosis and they return to the ocean, which is marine again, as an individual. Okay, so some examples of class cyclostomata are petromyzin, which is lamprey, and myxine, which is hagfish. So let's see the structure of petromyzin once. So it's basically, you can see that it's somewhat like a fish, but then it doesn't have proper scaly structure or fins for swimming, right? Okay, so this is nothing but class Cyclostomata. Now the second class that we are going to study is class Chondrichthyes. Okay, so this class is basically from a true fish, right? So this class belongs to Pisces, right? So basically these are marine animals. Okay, so class Chondrichthyes, they are marine animals with streamlined body. Okay, streamlined body, and cartilaginous endoskeleton. So their skeleton is cartilaginous. Now the mouth is located ventrally, so it's not above. So they have two surfaces, right? So basically, if I talk about the surface, say this is a fish, right? Say this is a fish. This surface is the dorsal surface, and this surface is the ventral surface. So the mouth is somewhere here. So the mouth is towards the ventral surface. Okay. Then they have notochord. Obviously, they'll have notochord because they are chordates. So notochord is persistent throughout life. So they have notochord throughout their life cycle. Okay. Then their gill slits is separate and without a gill cover. So basically, this gill cover is known as operculum. So gill slits are separate and without operculum. Then the skin. Okay, so the skin is tough. The skin is tough and it contains very minute scales. It contains minute placoid scales, okay, which was missing in the glass cyclostomata. Then their teeth are basically modified placoid scales. Now remember that their teeth are basically modified placoid scales. Okay, and jaws are very powerful. Jaws are very powerful. So basically, they are modified placoid scales which are backwardly directed. Okay, so this is backwardly directed. Okay, now these animals are predators basically, they are predaceous. Okay, now due to the absence of air bladder, they have to because constantly swim. Okay, so due to the absence of air bladder, they have to swim constantly to avoid sinking. Okay, so they have to keep on swimming because they do not have an air bladder which will basically make them swim. Okay, now the heart. So the heart is two-chambered. Okay, so the heart is, I'll just put this, yes. So the heart is two-chambered, which has one auricle and one ventricle. Then they have electric organs in some cases. So fishes like torpedo, they have poison sting in some like trigon. So there are some fishes which have modified organs as well. This is basically from p- uh, protection from predators. Okay, now these fishes are cold-blooded. Now what does the cold-blooded animal, what are they called? They are called poikilothermus. So all the members of class Chondrichthyes are poikilothermus. Okay, now the sexes are separate. Okay, so the sexes are separate. The male pelvic fins. So the male's pelvic fins bear what? Claspers. Okay. And they have internal fertilization. So fertilization is always inside the body, and many of them are viviparous. So what does viviparous mean? They are basically not egg laying, they reproduce or produce an offspring. Okay. Some example is say Squaliodon, which is a dogfish. This is a diagram of Squaliodon. Then you have sawfish. If you see this, this is the sawfish. Okay, so why is it called a sawfish? Because the mouth is somewhat resembles a saw. Okay, then you have trigon, which is a stingray. They, as we stud what we studied is that they have electric organs as well in some cases. In some cases, they have a poison sting as well. Okay, and they are cold-blooded. Always remember they are cold-blooded. So basically, they lack the capacity to regulate their body temperature. Okay. Okay, and sexes are separate. So male and female will always be two different individuals. So with this, we finish the second class Chondrichthyes as well. Now the third class that we have to see is the class Osteichthyes. Okay, so now this includes marine as well as freshwater fishes. Okay, this includes marine as well as freshwater fishes. Now in the previous what we saw that they had chondrichthyes, they had cartilaginous endoskeleton, right? Now here the class Osteichthyes, the members of class Osteichthyes, they have bony endoskeleton. Okay, so it is bony. Now body is again streamlined and mouth is terminal. So the previous one mouth was ventral. Here mouth is terminal, so just on the edge. Now four pair of gill slits and it is covered by operculum on each side. So they have four pair of gill slits and it is covered by operculum. Okay. Then the skin is covered with cycloid or ctenoid scales. So there we had placoid scales. Here we have cycloid or ctenoid scales. Now the air bladder here is present. Okay, so basically that regulates buoyancy, and because of presence of air bladder, they need not always keep swimming in the water. Okay, now heart is again the same as in class Chondrichthyes, which is two chambered, one auricle and one ventricle. They again are cold blooded or poikilothermous. So basically, they lack the capacity to regulate their body temperature. Now, here again, sexes are separate and fertilization is external. In the case of Chondrichthyes, fertilization was internal. Here it is external and it is mostly oviparous. So, they are egg laying fishes. Okay, and development is direct. So, there is no larval stage. No larval stage. Okay, now some examples. So you have a lot of fish which falls under the category of Osteichthyes. So you have marine form. Okay, so since they are marine as well as freshwater, you have marine form, which is like Exocytus or flying fish or hippocampus. Then there are freshwater like Labiorohita, Catla, Clarius, right? So mangur. Then you have aquarium fishes, right, as well. So you have betta, which is a fighting fish. You have pterophyllum, which is an angel fish, which is a very common fish that you can find inside aquarium. Okay, there are a lot of variety of Osteichthyes fishes basically. Now we will move to the Tetrapoda superclass and we will just finish Amphibia in this video. Okay, so basically amphibians again can live in aquatic as well as terrestrial habitats. Okay, and that is why they are named as amphibians. So basically, the word amphibian can be uh, broken down to amphi and bios, which is dual life. Okay, now most of them have two pairs of limbs, and body is divided into head and trunk. So they have two pair of limbs and body is divided into head and trunk. Now tail might be there in some cases. Okay, so in some cases they might have tail as well. Okay, now the amphibian skin is always moist, so it is without scales, and the eyes have eyelids as well. Okay, then they have a tympanum, which basically they have tympanum, okay, which basically represents the ear. Okay, so they have tympanum, which represents the ear. Okay, now alimentary canal, urinary and reproductive tract. all opens into a common chamber which is known as cloaca. And this cloaca opens to the exterior. So alimentary canal, urinary and reproductive tract all opens into a common chamber which is cloaca, and then with that opens to the exterior. Okay. Now there in them, how does respiration occurs? So respiration is through, how does respiration occur? Respiration is by gills, lungs and through skin. So respiration is by gills, lungs, and through skin. Okay. Now till the class Osteichthyes, what we saw is that the heart is two-chambered. But here in Amphibia it is three-chambered, wherein they have two auricle and one ventricle. Okay. But they again are cold-blooded animals or poikilothermos. Okay, so they again are cold-blooded animals. Now the sexes are separate, so they have female and male organisms. Fertilization is outside the body, so that is external. They are egg-laying, they are oviparous, and development is indirect. That means development is through a larval stage. Okay, so at last let's see some examples as well. Like you have frog and salamander. So basically you can see that there is frog, there is toad, there is salamander. All are example of the class Amphibia. Okay, so I hope you understood all four classes that I explained in this video. If you got 100% of what I said, please like the video and share it with your friends. If there is any doubt as such, even a very silly one, don't hesitate in sending it either in the comments of the video, or you can also ping me on the WhatsApp number which is given in the description of the video. Okay, and guys, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you are posted with all the updates on the video that I'll be posting in future. Okay, okay guys, bye bye, thank you.